Welcome back, everyone. We think we've fixed the technical problem for the website, so we should be back online live now. We'll move on to the next item, item N, Community Grants Report PR 25-2019. For one, to approve an in-kind grant in the amount of $618 to Club Joie de Vivre of Embrun for the rental of the Embrun Community Center for the Country Festival on September 28th. And item 2, to approve an ad hoc grant of $100 to the Club Joie de Vivre of Embrun for the Country Festival on September 28th. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? Pretty standard stuff. We'll move on to the next item. Item O, Recreational Complex Information Report. The council receives this information report, PR 26-2019, dated September 3rd, 2019, and approves the recommendation to pursue the grant application for the total project amount of $52,700,000 presented on August 20th, 2019. Questions, comments, members of council? Councilor Donosky.
All right, so it says in there that the province will notify applicants if their project has been selected for nomination to the federal government for review and approval in summer of 2020 estimated. And then further down it says applicants will be notified of the federal funding decision in fall of 2019, winter 2020. I'm just not sure that it doesn't seem to make sense. Is there a mistake in there, or is there a...
Monsieur Madame Ducal, the province and the feds haven't lined each other up?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. No, it's just the way it's worded. So if you read it a different way, the federal will let you know in summer 2020 because they have the final word. You have to go through the provincial assessment first, then that's gonna be winter 2020 or fall 19, and then the province sends it to the federal, which will notify you for the final assessment in summer 2020. So it's, I know it's worded a bit
So we should know
strangely, but this is their wording.
fairly quickly whether the province is moving it up to the federal level.
Well, hopefully, we would hope, because you have to remember that the deadline is November 12th, and then you get into Christmas time. So personally, I think that we will get the provincial answer probably around January, February 2020.
Whether
and
they
then
move it up to the
it's
federal
gonna be,
level.
if we are successful to pass this first assessment, we'll go to the one for the federal. That will be in summer 2020.
Councilor
Just a quick clarification on the costs, right? So they presented a 52 million. We had made some, we had some discussions around that. You know, they talked about the walking track around the arena. There's a couple of other things. I mean, so from the, you know, when I look at on the page, page 3 or 5 of the report, and it says our project will be part of the multi-purpose category. The individual project cap will generally be 50 million in total project costs, but exceptions may be made. I don't think, and this may just be me, but I don't think we want to go in with a project as an exception, right? I would think we want to stay within the $50 million guideline. So is there a way that we can get that down to that 50 million number with the help of Colliers, based on the stuff that we've discussed?
Mr. Leduc, Madame Ducal?
Yes, and I think definitely we reworked some of those components. We've asked Collier to make us a proposal. We should be getting this by this Friday, a proposal to make the grant application. So after that, we'll be looking at details. And yes, definitely, it's just that the province and the federal are proposing some exceptions, but like you said, I don't think we'll be going there, because obviously, if you go over 50 million, this means also that the municipal contribution will be higher than 26% also.
But the recommendation here is to go 52.7.
Okay, well, yeah, you're right.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
to
Yes.
So
me,
should
I
we
think
go
we should be
up to?
up to 50 million.
Okay.
And if we get it under 50 million, then great, but I don't think we go over 50 million. We don't want to be an exception,
No, no.
because it's going to be harder for them to approve an exception than it will be to get approved if we say 49.9 or whatever. At least we're under the number. That's why houses sell for 59.9, not 600, right? So
I think we took this number because it was the highest, the big Cadillac one of the 6 options that we had presented to council. So this is why we had put this number, but definitely And I'm sure the consultant or whoever will be doing the grant application knows that it is to our advantage to be requesting a grant that is just under the cap.
You would hope,
Yeah.
but they take guidance from the proponent, and you're the proponent. And if we don't give them that guidance,
Mhm.
like an example, the walking track, well, we already have one, they concluded it anyway,
Yeah.
then you would think that they would have excluded it, but they didn't. So
So at this point in time, I'll ask that this be separate,
that's what I was gonna ask.
and that amendments could be made at that point.
I'm gonna ask that it go up to a maximum of 50 million on the application.
Conseiller Brisson de Tranaski.
Puis, même si on accepte comme 50 millions, le projet n'est pas juste clarifié par sûr, le projet n'est pas finalisé. On peut changer encore au lieu d'un auditorium, ça pourrait être une bibliothèque, ça pourrait être n'importe quoi d'autre. Ça,
I don't think so.
No.
Monsieur Leduc.
sorry. Aussi, faut que
Ben,
ça
heureusement
soit-
que rassuré demande conseil qu'on n'a pas précisé rien dans le complexe encore. Par rapport à qu'est-ce qui est dedans, qu'est-ce qui n'est pas dedans, grandeur, grosseur, siège, pas de siège, ça, tu sais, comme ça. Ici, je pense que qu'on mette 50 millions, 49 millions, 500 000, ça va être correct à mon opinion. Sans avoir à préciser chaque item.
Mais c'est juste faire sûr que, justement, qu'on ne dise pas qu'on est attaché comme c'est là avant d'avoir vu les autres études. Dire, OK, ben, on est attaché à ce exactement au layout qu'on a eu, qu'à 50 millions.
Pour le moment, c'est qu'on donne aux provinces une idée du projet. Ils voient si l'idée et la grandeur du projet tombent dans leur perspective eux autres. Si oui, là, ils nous recommandent au fédéral. Là, ils vont nous demander souvent des plans plus détaillés, des site plans plus à contenu, plus spécifique. Mais ici, pour l'instant, on peut rester vague dans qu'est-ce qui est inclus, exclu, puis le chiffre peut changer assez facilement.
Puis je crois aussi que I think they're giving construction has to be complete by I believe 2027.
2027.
So there's a lot of play here. Right now, I think they want to look at the potential project and the finances of the municipality to make sure that they're actually capable of going ahead with such a large project. Conseiller Tranaski.
So, sitting on the library board, I just want to make a point here that was raised by the library committee. This is a grant that's also available for new libraries, if I understand correctly. So I was wondering, and I talked to the mayor already about this, and so obviously we don't want to apply for two grants if one is going to kibosh the other. In your experience, is that the way it works? So if we put two applications in, do they say, well, we're only going to give them one? I just wondering.
Monsieur Leduc, Madame Boutin.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure when I read the guideline, municipality can only apply for one major project.
Okay, thank you
No.
for clarifying that. So my last point to make on that is, I just would like to be advised, so on the 16th, we're gonna decide if we're going to an outside consultant for the proposal writing. Is there just a way to make sure that, and I'm sure that that's what they're gonna do, but just to make sure that we put this project in the best possible light, meaning that, in the original Collier's presentation, we talked about an auditorium, and maybe, a gym would give us better odds. How do we decide what we're gonna present in the package? Like, the consultant should know this, or?
Monsieur Leduc, Madame Boutin.
What's the deadline to submit this?
November 12th.
So I believe that if we encounter these issues, I believe we'll be coming back to council to maybe question council to say which direction you want us to put in. I think if we get to that point where by filling in the application, if we see there's a roadblock somewhere, I'm sure we'll come back to council and say, okay, we've got a choice to make here. Which direction would you like us to go, if we go there?
Thank you.
Conseiller Larin.
And I think, Mr. Mayor, you made a very, I think it was yourself, or I can't remember now whose point it was, but I think it was yours, about the readiness of the municipality is gonna be key, even though it's 2027, that they have to be built by, which I would hope if we get the money, they're not built in 2027. But the fact is, we've already set out, when we started last year, and I, throw this back to staff, who did a phenomenal job with it, of setting in place that infrastructure, call it infrastructure SURF funds, whatever you wanna call it, for that $150,000, that come 2023, we would have the money to pay our share and continue to pay it back over time, so that we have, we can show them in this proposal that we are set up to pay our share. We don't have to do anything crazy outside of the box, anything out of the norm, to gather that, our share of the money, which is, what is it, 26% of it, of the project, so call it, it's $50 million, like $20 million, no, even $15 million. I mean, I think we were set up for a $22 million, investment, so I think we're doing very well to show that we're ready
Yep.
in that, with that project up to $50 million, so I think it's,
Anything
they've
to
done a
add?
good job, exactly.
Mr. Leduc, any thoughts?
Yes, and if I can just add, like, if you look at the eligibility criteria that they were mentioning in the grant application, one of them is the asset management plan that we've been working diligently for the last 2 years. So that's a big plus for the township municipality. And the last three months of work that we've done is like, it's a really good step forward that most municipalities will not have. And yes, you can finish substantially the project for 2027, but the application needs to be in for November 12th.
Yeah.
So
And
that's not very long.
realistically,
That's not very long.
I think that both levels of government would like to see projects go ahead before, completed before next election rounds go ahead. So,
And in theory, ours could,
yep, most
at
definitely.
least for the province,
Yep,
so.
definitely. Okay, parfait. Move on to the next item. Item P was taken care of already. Item Q, amendments to Council's Code of Conduct, Report CL 13/2019. Council receives Report CL 13/2019 dated September 3rd, 2019, approves a proposed bylaw to amend the code as follows. 1. The section entitled Reporting Allegations to be more explicit with respect to the confidentiality of complainants. 2. The term in French for department head. And 3. The breach form attached as Appendix A to Council's Code of Conduct Bylaw 2019-021. Questions, comments, members of council? Councilor Janoski.
So in paragraph 1, I think the point was to remove the word must, and the way the wording changed to shall, I was always told as a young person, you shall not steal, and that means I won't steal. So it's kind of must and shall are pretty similar to me, but I think that the fact that we changed the wording now, sorry here, this just says the complaint must be reported, whereas before it said that a suspected breach must be reported. The fact that we changed it that says that the complaint must be reported, I think alleviates that. So the changing of shall and must is kind of irrelevant. It's just my opinion.
Well, it's the fact that any complaint is saying, if somebody's making a complaint, then it has to be pursuant to the code of conduct, whereas before, if I suspected something, I had to come forward. Now it's the decision is, am I making a complaint? So now if I decide to make a complaint, then that's the step you
I agree, but that's my point, is that the word shall and must, that doesn't relate to
Mr. Leduc?
As per legal advice, in this case, there's two different perspectives here. You were right, Mr. Mayor, when you said the first step was any suspected breach, you must report it. You shall report it. That was the case, that is the case currently. The way we write it here now is that any complaint made, so if somebody decides not to complain, and the word shall is to be, you shall do so by completing Appendix A. Shall is complete with Appendix A. And there's no longer the need to shall report any or any suspected. Now it's, if you decide to make one complaint, then you only use, you shall use Appendix A. That's the wording. So there's no, it's not simply a word, replacing word must by shall. That's not the case here. It's two completely different things. And so you remove yourselves from the obligation in any suspected breach that you have to report now. You remove yourself from that.
Want to say Larry?
Yeah, that was the intent of my request, and I think you've captured it here now by saying that I have the discretion to determine whether there's a complaint or not. So even if I suspect something, but I choose not to make a complaint, then I'm not going outside of the code of conduct by not reporting it, whereas before I must have reported it. However, now, if I do report it, then I have to use the form that's set aside in that, so I shall complete the form, so that's okay.
Yeah, no, my
If
point,
I'm making a
yeah,
complaint.
my point was that the word shall and must, like, it was pointless to change it, because under this way of writing it, whether it's must or shall, like, if you have a complaint, you must report it or shall.
Yeah, but
report it.
before,
Same
it
thing.
before
I
it
know
was
that,
by the
I
suspected
understand.
complaint.
I understand, it's just that
Yeah.
changing that word makes the must and shall irrelevant. That's all my point was.
Okay.
So, as the person who requested this, I'm happy with the way it's rewritten.
Okay. Councillor Sosi?
Well, I have a bit of a difficulty with the confidentiality of the complainant, because even the integrity commissioner stated that it's necessary for the purpose of his or her report. So, having gone through this, I felt that, it's sort of your right to know who and why when someone states something about you, whether positive or negative. I think you usually have a right to know, because it's hard to defend yourself if you're not sure what was presented and or why. So that was a bit of an issue I had with that amendment.
Councillor O'Neill?
Yeah, this comes from a request from myself. I don't believe it's the what or the why, it's the who. That is the concern, right? And under the fact that we had to submit a report for a suspected breach, the person who was the subject absolutely gets to see the information in terms of what's the complaint, why is it being submitted, but not who. We get the ombudsman reports. We don't get to know who put those in on us, right? We get to know what it is. We get to know why they submitted it. We don't get to know who reported it. So what's the difference? You got an ombudsman and an integrity commissioner. They're both doing similar work, identifying if there was a breach of something. So why does the person need to know who the person was that put it through? It causes, and specifically at the council level, it will cause tensions of people at the table. Now we've corrected one of them in terms of having to submit on a suspected breach. Now we don't have to, which to me makes a lot more sense than having forced to do something when we suspect something. So from that perspective, I still think, if the ombudsman doesn't have to share the complainant, then why does the integrity commissioner have to share who the complainant was? And if they want to change it, then so be it, then we'll change it. But to me, I think there still needs to be an air of confidentiality to allow for people to put a complaint in. And let's say it's not even a member of council, and it is an outside person, and that person has to deal with council. Having their name out there kind of puts them in a bad situation too. So
I tend to agree because, we have whistleblower legislation to protect the people that are making complaints. If people are making complaints about council, council is in a position of power and authority, and if council is holding a grudge against somebody and that person's trying to do something with council, human nature, some people might hold grudges. Do we want to put our residents in a position where they think something happened, but they're scared to report it because council might hold it against them? And that's a position, if they're being forced to divulge who they are, then chances are, they might not report that, that breach, if you will. So I tend to agree.
the integrity commissioner knows who submitted the report, the clerk knows who submitted the report, but the complainant won't. Unless there's, I don't see what reasoning why, but unless there's something that is
Pertinent.
extremely pertinent to the situation and the integrity commission decides that, yes, I need to share that information, But other than that, I don't see a reason why. I agree with you, the person needs to know what happened and why it was submitted. 100% agree, that was never part of the request. It was only the who. Because it leaves tensions here and it leaves tensions out there to here. So,
Councillor Saucier, then Councillor Kanowski.
Well, I understand your point, especially with the ombudsman, but I'm still kind of torn on that, because I just think immediately, anytime, if somebody says, even in your job position, we're not happy with your performance, well, who's not happy with my performance? It's really something that is sort of human nature, I guess, because you can't always correct it if you don't know why, and so I'm torn on that, so I think I'd like to pull this one and vote on it separately, please.
Okay. Councillor Kanowski?
I just had one last question. If there was a portion for payment, someone remind me what's the cost to make a complaint?
It's a couple hundred, 250?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor, $250. And that's a refundable fee as well.
Okay, thank you.
If it's found there is a breach, then it's a refundable fee.
What's up beyond those?
Monsieur Leduc?
Just to reassure council that paragraph 2 was amended by legal assistance. And also, it's part of the City of Toronto article or decision that the IC referred to. But certainly, how can I say that correctly? The interpretation of our IC on this article varies from what's recommended here. But if we were to read the full report, I think our legal has suggested to us to consider that this was a proper interpretation of the case in Toronto.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's only in the opinion of, if it's necessary, because the issue was, did you gather the information for that particular reason, and why was it divulged to the public? So that's why what's being put out to the public has to be obtained the way it's supposed to, and in that particular case it was not, and that's why the IC chose to divulge. But you have to read the whole case to understand the case, not only to read one line, and this is why the legal said this is the best way from that case to write.
And just to confirm, the way it's written now, the Integrity Commissioner can, it may be disclosed, if he deems it to be of value to put it in his report, he has that option to do so. So it's not saying he won't, it's saying that he can choose to if he thinks it's necessary. Okay. D'autres questions, commentaires? Quelque chose d'autre à ajouter, Monsieur Leduc? No? Okay, we'll move on. Item 12, reports from investigator, the ombudsman, we have none. Item 13, notice of motions, we have none. Item 14, question period on meeting the day. If anyone has any questions, I invite you to come up to the lectern and state your name and address for the record, please, and pose a question. I see no one moving forward. We'll move on to the next item, item 15, resolutions. So we'll have I'll ask for suspension of the rules of procedure to wait, we have to suspend the rules of procedures to move forward with item B as opposed to item A. So I need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Conseiller Brisson, seconded by Councillor Kanowski. All those in favor? All those opposed? I need hands, yes, I need more than the majority. Okay, so we have that. So now we'll move on, that motion that council approve all recommendations listed on the agenda under number 11, reports from departments and council committees. We'll put it on the table, and then we have to make an amendment to pull a few up. So moved by Conseiller Brisson, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. And then I'll need a mover and a seconder to remove item M, O, and Q. Moved by Councillor Saucier, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. All those in favor of removing the 3 items? All those opposed? The 3 items are now removed. So we'll now vote on everything except M, O, and Q. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. So now we will go back to item M, which is the private service conversion, report ISWATWW 058-2019. I need a mover and a seconder, put it on the table. Moved by Conseiller Buisson, seconded by Conseiller Tarnowski. Questions, comments
Which one, sir?
on the private conversion one? Are we good with it as is?
I'm good with it.
Councillor Tarnowski?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay, so all those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. M is now approved. We'll move on to item O, which is the Recreation Complex Information Report. Need a mover and seconder to put on table, moved by Conseiller Larin, second by Conseiller Buisson. Questions, comments? Conseiller Larin.
I'm gonna request an amendment that the application does not exceed $50 million to ensure we stay under the limit for total project costs. If we can get it under 50 million, that would be great.
So, you wanna change total project amount up to 50 million?
Up to 50 million.
Up to 50 million proposed by Conseiller Larin. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Tarnowski. Questions on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment? Carried. All those in favor as amended? Carried. Item Q, amendments to Council's Code of Conduct. I need a mover and a seconder to put on the table. Moved by Conseiller Buisson, second by Councillor Tarnowski. Questions, comments, amendments? None? Okay, calls for the vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Recorded vote?
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll lift our hands again. All those in favor? All those opposed? Recorded vote. C'est ça, Madame Camille-Laflamme?
Yes.
Okay. So now we go back to resolutions. Item A, notice of motion to amend something previously adopted or rescind.
Who was the mover and seconder at the beginning, before the recorded vote? No.
Before the recorded vote, c'était
Could have
Conseiller
been me.
Lorraine.
I think we've been go now. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So now we'll go to the notice of motion. We currently have a mover and a seconder, Conseiller Lorraine.
Based on what we've done, and that was one of the requests, was to have the bylaw done and changes to the two projects. I'm going to ask council to, I guess, just, what do we do? Do we defeat it? Do we?
No, it's not a,
rescind it? Like, what can we do?
it's a motion to remove from the table. And, I think if the mover and the seconder agree, it can be removed, but I just wanna make sure. Take from the table. After a question has been laid on the table, it can be taken from the table by majority vote as soon as the required business is disposed of.
Yeah, the business has been sold, because we did it in a different manner. Essentially, everything in it has already been taken care of through the bylaw that we just did, right?
The bylaw is in close
Oh,
reins.
no, we didn't, no, I didn't do. I didn't ask for the, I've asked for reconsideration to make an amendment to rescind the guiding principles.
Or we can give directions as staff and we can just bring something back, but we rescind it at the next meeting.
We can do that as well.
That's what you do.
Postpone indefinitely. Motion to postpone indefinitely may be introduced when an embarrassing motion has been brought before the Assembly and the Assembly does not want to deal with it. At this point, a member can propose to dispose of the question without bringing a direct vote on the matter. Motion to postpone indefinitely may only be introduced immediately after the main motion has been made or before debate has begun, which like it's too late to bring the motion forward. Ça serait celle-là? Is this where you get
It's
rid of
not,
it? Not that one?
Gonna be the other one?
Withdrawal of the motion. Before the chair states the motion, it belongs to the mover of the motion, as she may ask to withdraw or modify the motion without permission of the assembly. The chair shall either repeat the motion in its modified version or state the motion has been withdrawn. After debate has begun, a motion or request by mover to withdraw the motion may be in order, however, permission by the assembly must be given. Motion to withdraw.
I'm making a motion to withdraw my notice of motion.
Is the seconder in agreement with it?
Yes.
The seconder is in agreement with it. It is now removed.
Which needs a majority vote to.
Nope.
Oh, I thought that's what you meant.
No, it's if the mover and the seconder decide to
There
take
you
it
go.
away, then we can just. Counselor Tarnowski?
So just to confirm that next meeting, staff will bring a,
Regarding principles?
yeah, so that we receive it, right?
Yeah, so yeah, I'll be brought back. Okay. Item 16, bylaws. Motion that council approve bylaws 2019-126 to 2019-132 inclusively for first, second, and third reading as listed on the agenda. Need a mover and a seconder? Moved by Conseil Brisson, seconded by Councilor Tomaski. All those in favor?
Hold on.
Christian?
Because I see something in here, I'm gonna ask that we remove bylaw to amend council code of conduct so that it may be voted on separately. So
Okay.
as a member of council has already voted against the resolution, I figured that she would want to vote against the bylaw.
Okay, so moved by Conseiller Lorrain to remove 2019-132, seconded by Councilor Soxi. All those in favor to remove the item? Okay, so we're voting on everything except 2019-132.
All the schedules fall under the same bylaw, right?
And then can we left on?
what's,
Because it says bylaw to amend council code of conduct, Schedule A to bylaw, Schedule A to bylaw, breach of code of conduct. I wanna make sure those are all captured under the
these
same
are,
vote.
the Schedule A is the form itself
Right,
Right.
to report to.
but because they're all listed separately here,
Oh.
En 2019-132, ça englobe toutes les trois affaires.
It's,
Okay.
yeah, there's two.
Okay.
It's one in French and one in English.
Okay,
just the reports are listed together, that's fine. Okay,
okay,
just wanted to make sure.
perfect. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. So now we'll vote on 2019-132 separately. Need a mover and a seconder put on table, moved by Councilor Tonoski, seconded by Conseiller Brisson. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 17, new business reports. There are none. Item 18, first item myself, budget discussions. I need to make a request for our budget dates to change slightly. The way the schedule falls this year, this budget, special council meeting on the 23rd ends up being the same day as I'm at the counties, having budget discussions there. We don't have much leeway, we're gonna have 2 days. I'm suggesting possibly that we do the first day on the 22nd, and that on the 23rd, we do like a start at 1 or 2 in the afternoon. That way I can have the discussions in the morning, run back here. That's one possibility. I'm open to suggestions. Conseil Lorrain?
Is there any way we can bang out as much as we can on the 22nd if we're doing a full day? And then, 9 to whatever time, and then if we have to come back on the 23rd, it'd be after 5 o'clock.
I'm okay with that. For the 22nd, the only thing I would suggest, maybe we start at 10 in the morning, since we have a council meeting the night before.
That's fine.
I think we've done that in the past where we,
Could be 10 till 9, who knows, right? We just
Yeah.
bang as much as we can that day, and if we don't have to come back on Wednesday, then so be it, but if we do, in the evening,
Since, but it's on the Wednesday that you are doing it,
yes.
why don't we left Thursday? Ça peut être 22, hein? Faut pas rester 24, ça va nous donner longtemps.
Can go on the 22nd.
Which one?
The 24th in the evening.
The other thing I was gonna propose is that we're here already on the Monday, can we do a few hours on the Monday before council meeting? And so that there is not gonna be a need for additional time past the one extra day?
The only, I'll speak for myself, the only thing is, now with a new job that I have, I'm 8 till 4 in the city, and I only just started 2 weeks ago, so to ask for time off is extremely difficult.
Okay.
So that's why I was gonna ask, before the mayor asked to change the date, I was gonna ask that council does 1 to 9, just because that'd be 1 day off instead of 2 that I would need. So, but if we do it, if we do the 22nd, which is the Tuesday, and just go from 10 till as long as we can,
Yeah, okay.
and then if we have to come back after 5 o'clock on Wednesday night, that would be my preference. I can't do any other days at that point in time. And I'm just saying for me, because my circumstance, for this
Everybody,
year.
everybody else, is everybody okay with, administration, are okay with that? It'll be a long couple of days. So we'll start on the 22nd at 10 a.m. We'll do as much as possible, and then we'll see if we have to come back on the 23rd, then we'll start at 5 p.m.
Is there any reason why we don't split up now?
Because we're here the night before till,
We're council on Monday night.
It's stable.
so that'll be a light council meeting.
Ideally, but we'll see. They haven't been exactly light lately, so.
Do we wanna consider starting the council meeting at 5 o'clock then? So we try and get out earlier on Monday night?
That's what we,
No?
because I'm,
Yeah.
I'm taking the rest of the week off because of these budget meetings, so.
Okay, so 22nd at 10 a.m., 23rd, if needed, we'll be here at 5 p.m. Monsieur Leduc?
Is it 23rd if needed, to me is an issue, because some department heads like fire chiefs and the library need to know when they're going. So it'd be hard to do that in one day. So it most likely it's gonna be 23rd at 5. There'll be some need to meet there, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, the longer we go on the Tuesday, the less we'll do on the Wednesday night. Okay? Parfait. Okay. So that takes care of item 18A.
Can we get updated,
Calendar request?
calendar invites?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now I'll have to do reposted on the website. Okay. Any other questions on the budgets? No? We'll move on to, the second item was, Conseiller Brisson in regards to the Emblem Commercial Park.
Yeah, it was a follow-up, it's just that we did receive a correspondence from some owner of the Emblem Commercial Park, and it was just to know what, if something has been done and what has been done.
Monsieur Leduc, Monsieur Bourgon?
Is that the correspondence later last week?
Tu l'as éteint.
Ça, c'est la pétition.
Ah, t'es correct.
La pétition.
Oui.
Donc, la semaine dernière, nous avons rencontré là, les propriétaires qui avaient demandé la rencontre pour les demander s'il y avait des questions par rapport au ce qui leur était facturé. Donc, on les a rencontrés le jeudi dernier en soirée pour leur expliquer.
Y a-tu un settlement dessus ou s'il y a des changements?
La demande à ce moment-là était seulement de les rencontrer pour leur donner des explications.
C'est ça, qu'est-ce qu'on a fait?
C'est ce qui a été fait jeudi dernier.
Okay. Monsieur Leduc?
Monsieur le conseil, il faut se souvenir qu'on est quand même nos conseils. On vous a présenté la répartition des coûts, vous avez approuvé ça. Donc, nous, on n'est pas capable légalement d'aller à cette rencontre-là, puis changer la décision du conseil, s'en aller au conseil. Donc, on ne pas la question, est-ce qu'il y a eu un settlement? Il n'y en a pas eu parce qu'en quelque part, c'est une explication de la décision. S'il y avait une réplique ou une réponse à recevoir du groupe, probablement qu'on s'attend à cette situation-là. On va préparer un rapport au conseil pour dire voici ce qu'on pense de la réplique, puis est-ce qu'il y a une décision au nom du conseil face à revoir cette position, si c'est possible.
C'était surtout savoir s'il y avait eu un suivi, parce que j'en avais pas entendu parler de tout ça. S'il y a un suivi qui a été fait C'est parfait avec ça.
Okay. Item C, conseiller Buisson for the radio station.
Oui, c'est juste dans la correspondance aussi, on avait eu une demande de comité communautaire de Carlsbad Spring qui voulait commencer une nouvelle radio. Il demandait si on était intéressé de s'impliquer dedans aussi, mais il n'y a pas eu de discussion au conseil, ça fait que c'était juste savoir qu'est-ce qu'on faisait avec ça.
Oui, Monsieur Leduc.
Lorsque j'ai fait la demande, j'ai demandé une rencontre si M. le maire est intéressé à rencontrer le groupe. On a rencontré, M. le maire et moi, M.
Denis.
Pardon?
C'est-tu Denis?
La flèche. La flèche ou la brèche de Carlsbad, qui est l'instigateur du projet. Donc, on l'a invité à soit venir lundi prochain faire une demande officielle pour le budget, ou encore demander une délégation pour faire cette demande au conseil, ou expliquer son projet au conseil, puis demander une autorisation. Mais je pense que nous, on s'est montré très intéressés, puis sûrement que je vais mettre des chiffres dans le budget pour considérer cette demande.
Okay. Pas de questions là-dessus? No? Move on, Councillor Associate Terry Fox Run.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to invite the community to the 39th Terry Fox Run Walk on Sunday, September 15th, from 9 till noon on the trail, sur la piste et le 39e tour de Terry Fox, dimanche le 15 septembre à 9h de midi. We will have a start in Emmer beside the train depot and in Russell at the trail parking lot beside Mother Teresa Catholic School. I wanted to, unfortunately they're not here, but I want to thank our fire departments for ensuring that all participants cross safely. I also invite some of the mayors and councilors will be there, and we dedicate this year's event to two local survivors, Danita Oslin and Rebecca Smith. So I hope to see some of you there. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you very much, Councillor Associate. Quickly, we'll add two other items. One, obviously, starting this coming weekend is the Russell Fair. I believe it's the 161st Russell Fair. And as always, it's always a fun event. Hopefully the weather holds out, and fingers crossed. And they have some new activities this year. I see some forging. People want to try and make some metal, whatever. Iron, and you know, it's like that. I can't think that forged in fire. Yeah, blacksmith stuff. So that kind of looks cool. I'm not planning on competing this year, but you never know last minute. But no, it should be some good fun. Conseiller Larrey?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a great event, and obviously an event that the township sponsors as well. We put a significant amount of money, time, effort into that event as well, from staff timing to financial contributions and whatnot. My question is, are we promoting it? Like, are we putting it on our message board? Are we social media blitzing a Twitter, Facebook? Are we sending out a push notification on our app? Fair starts on Thursday, make sure you don't miss the fair. Just stuff like that, because it is such a big tourist event, and we wanna make sure everyone goes, and we contribute a lot of money to it. So, I'm just thinking that, for major events that we're supported through community grants, we might wanna at least put it on the board out front and get it out to some social media, on the social medias.
I see Monsieur Leduc taking notes there, so I'm sure we'll.
I have issues with the board in front because it's not for groups. We had multiple requests that we refused. And it's not necessarily our project either. We are contributing financially, but this is not our event. So we simply can refer to their webpage, we can certainly promote it, but there should be some limit to our involvement.
Councillor Associate?
And I just wanted to add that, like, for instance, myself, we can go onto the website and post our event on the township website. And they copied my promotional thing for Terry Fox, so there is an event page that anybody, so the Ag Society, their board could utilize that.
That's why we put it in place, right?
Right.
But definitely, as members of council, we'll be posting it on our social media accounts, trying to get it forward and try and have as much as a successful event as possible. And the last item I just want to mention was on September 14th, there's actually a trivia night in Embrun, which is to the benefit of our fire departments to help out with some equipment. Always a wonderful event. Anybody who hasn't been, it's a great opportunity to attend, have a good time. It's one of the little things that make this township so great. So I look forward to seeing people there and having a good time. That's it.
Going down.
Yeah. Yes, there is a competitive nature to the trivia nights. We'll move on. Item 19, public consultations, hearings. We have none. Item 20, closed session. Motion to move into closed session at the hour of 8:25 p.m. to address matters pertaining to Section 239 of the Municipal Act.